Hello champions, welcome to Party Monday for a beautiful Monday. It's time to paint some toy soldiers. Okay, let's go. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Quite partial to a Monday myself. Captain Carp, welcome. Welcome, Frog Jim. We're just going to paint this little egg ball face man today. And whatever else we get done, because it's just board game figures and we're going to do them quickly. Oh, Yomki. What can I sing for you, champion? Is that call me, come alive, you can call me anytime, call me. Is that the one? Call me. You can call me anytime. I don't know many of the other lyrics. Have another one, mate. I don't really know any of the lyrics other than what I just sang, so you can have another one. Since you spent your hard-earned points. This is an easy one to paint because it's a rock guy. It's based on Greek mythology, Sisyphus's tear, Sisyphus's stone. You know, the one that he rolled up the mountain over and over. Well, that's what this is. So we're just going for a rocky, interesting texture. Start off with some base coats, and then we're going to do a lovely dry brush. Just a lovely dry brush. It's going to be magnificent. Probably. Only 2 more days left till the next episode of Ted Lasso. Can't wait. It's the second last episode of Ted Lasso of all time. It makes me sad, but it also fills me with joy. Because it's a show that fills me with joy. Just makes me happy. And if you're not watching it, you're missing out. You're missing out on a wonderful opportunity to get in on something that's just great. I want a little bit of the brush texture there. This is a great investment, friends. This brush that I picked up cost me $10 for 4 brushes from just my Kmart, and it's a very reasonable dry brush actually. Do I use flow improver? If I really want to paint super thin lines and like really control it, I actually use a little bit of my airbrush mix or airbrush thinner. So I guess the answer to that question is yes. But I need to. Can usually just use water. But it's sort of one of those things like, why not use it if you've got it? Why not make your life easier? You know? Yeah, it'll certainly make it easier. Just need to flick that a little bit that way. There's something very freeing about painting board game figures. I think I've talked about this a couple of times before. It's just, you can just switch your brain off and let the brush do it. Nate, welcome champion. What I am thinking about when I paint these bits is just direction of light, and obviously we're looking at a light from above sort of situation here. So the predominant location of the highlights that I'm picking are on those upper areas, and then I'll probably just do a bit of an airbrush after doing some washes and what have you, just to smooth it all out a bit. The roughness that you can see from my brushwork here is all going to reinforce the it's just going to reinforce the texture of the rock, so it's okay that it's a bit ordinary, because when I do a little airbrush it's just going to smooth that bad boy out. It's going to be tremendous. G'day Carl91, welcome champion. So yesterday, wow, thanks mate. Yesterday was a huge day in the miniature board games world. There was a monumental fucking blow up, specifically pertaining to this game. And one of the reasons I am painting this game right now is so that I can play some games with this, and you'll probably see me streaming very soon some playthroughs of this game, because there was a huge controversy about it, and I'd like to just do a little bit to support the company. I talked about it a little bit in yesterday's stream, but I'll talk about it in more detail today, now that I have read more of the details of the situation. And we'll do that right now. So basically, there's a company. This company is a Polish company called Into the Unknown, and they are a relatively new publisher. This is their first kickstarted game, Aeon Trespass Odyssey. It's a huge campaign game, you know, one of the ones I love. Lots of moving parts, very Kingdom Death Monster-esque. And interestingly, I was on the fence about it. I was in the pledge manager, and I was very close to just going, you know what, I'm missing it. I'm not doing it. and I ended up about a week before the pledge manager closed. I'd had a few beverages one night, and I was lying in bed. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. This is a funny story, actually. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was looking at the page, and I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get it. And so I paid for the pledge manager, but I actually, by accident, used my corporate card, my company card, to pay for this board game on my company's dollar. So I had to call my boss the next morning and said, "Hey, champion, I accidentally bought a $700 board game on the corporate card last night whilst on the Terps. Sorry, champion." Whoops. It was fine. I just deducted it from my next pay. But anyway, it was a funny conversation. At least it wasn't strippers. So the first game, Into the Unknown, is the name of the company, and Aeon Trespass Odyssey is the game. So it's a huge adventure game, very ambitious, and as per most board games during the Kickstarter phase of the pandemic, everything was delayed. But they managed to get the game out and not delay in any way, or not force people to pay more money. They were absolutely delayed. They were delayed by approximately a year, and I think they were scheduled to deliver in 2021 December, and it arrived 2022 December. So they were delayed by a year, which is a pretty significant. So the game arrives to, I wouldn't say universal acclaim, but it is an overwhelmingly high rating on Board Game Geek, 9.3. 9.3 for any game is impressive. This one's got nearly 2,000 votes, so it's a really high result for a board game on Board Game Geek. I think as it stands, it's actually the highest rated game with over 1,000 votes, something like that. Anyway, very highly rated. So this is where the drama begins, right? So it's a very in-depth game. There's a lot of moving parts. I play it solo, and I have, hand over my heart, fucked up on many occasions. I don't worry too much about that. You just learn from it and move on, right? You don't get too stressed. There's a lot of many things that need to be accounted for when playing this game. So this particular game, there was a number of content creators who got in there and started making videos. One of the content creators who, if you are unfamiliar with, his name's Quackalope, had made some videos for this game. Now, I'm not here to pass judgment on anyone in this instance. It's just a retelling of what occurred and the drama and so forth. So Quackalope and the team of people that he was working with had a lot of difficulties passing the rules, and put together several videos of moderate quality. They're a very high quality production, but the quality of the videos in terms of, you know, their ability to understand the rules and so on is less impressive. So in this instance, oh, there's a little dude there, cool. In this instance, Quackalope made some videos, and according to the stuff they spent about 50 hours building videos and creating content for this game. Now this is where the situation gets a little bit murky, and probably it's a good thing that this has happened for the community in general, because it will have created a little bit of dialogue, a little bit of openness about some of the practices that happen in the board game industry. So the company Into the Unknown received an email from Quackalope saying, "Hey, just want to let you know we've made some content for your game. but we really struggled with the rules. Any chance you wanted to, send someone out to where we are, and we'll refilm your content with stuff that's, more accurate, more correct, basically. Now, this is where it gets a little bit murky as to who's in the right or who's in the wrong, because the intent is something that we'll never know. But what comes across in the emails, and then this is the interesting part, is they said we can happily refilm this content and be super positive about the game for the low price of $7,500, which is a discount of $1,000 per video. We'll make 5 videos at $1,500 each. We normally charge $2,500 for a video. So this is what was said to the company who owns the game, made the game, did the Kickstarter. There's some dubiousness behind some of those things. The question of, can we do a deal and refilm your content so it's more positive for money, has an implication of, if we don't do that, we'll release negative content of your game. And a later email did actually state, if we don't negotiate some sort of situation, we'll just have to run with the stuff that we've got, which isn't as positive as it could be. Now, none of this comes to light right normally. None of this happens in the public domain. But in this situation, what occurred is the company basically looked at this and just sort of had a real good hard think about it and decided, I don't think we're going to go that way, champion. I think we're going to give this one a miss. 2 months later, next Kickstarter releases. At the same time, Quackalope releases a series of videos on the game. One of them is a video titled Aeon Trespass Odyssey is a Masterpiece. One of them is titled Aeon Trespass Odyssey is Unplayable Trash. It's a format he does where he splits off opinions into 2 videos, generates more views, generates more clicks, etc., etc. One of the videos is a confirmation bias where he's providing positive confirmation bias, and one is where he's providing negative confirmation bias. I don't really like the approach, but I'm not here to judge the champion for his decisions on that front. So the video releases the negative video, and it says Aeon Trespass Odyssey is unplayable. Unplayable. And a number of people who voted for this fucking game on BGG, it's 9.3. Wild acclaim, basically. They've gone into this video and they've said, that's pretty harsh. That's a bit rough. But the whole video is them just saying, we couldn't play it. The rules were unable to be fucking understood. It's a terrible game. Don't play it. Again, there is a second video that says the game's a masterpiece. But if you watch both videos, which I have, the masterpiece video is very much we think this game could be a masterpiece. There's maybe a few things holding it back, specifically the rulebook. It's not very good, blah, 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 blah. The other one is just a fucking straight bagging, where they're like, this game is no good, you should avoid it, it's rubbish, etc., etc. So it's just a very, very bad look for them to have sent an email saying, we will refilm your content if you pay us $7,500. And if you don't, we're going to release this content as it is. It's a bad look for him. However, it probably wouldn't have come to light, but the company was asked their opinion on the video on one of the comments of the Kickstarter page, and they said, if a content creator was to suggest, that we could refilm content for $7,500, we would not take lightly to that. We would not want to work with that content creator again, which created a shitstorm. So again, there's mistakes made on both sides. No party's blameless here. Certainly, the company that makes the game didn't have to air their dirty laundry. But I do think that the greater portion of the blame here lies with Hello Timbo, with the approach of the content creator, who has basically acknowledged the practice of, we will say whatever you want to say for money. And that's the crux of the conversation for me, and what I think I'd like to talk about a little bit more is just what's acceptable, where do we draw the line for content creators around ethical behaviour or lack of ethical behaviour. There's no rules in this space, right? I mean, there's nothing to stop a Kickstarter company from approaching a content creator and saying, hey, we'll pay you $5,000 if you just fucking say our game's the best thing since sliced bread. And Nate, I think you and I are sort of on the same page here, mate, where if a company asks me to promote their game or their product or their paint range, which has happened in the past, I will say this. I will provide my honest and unbiased opinion about your product. You're welcome to send me said product, but if I don't like it, I'm going to say that. If you don't want a truthful opinion, I am not your champion. If the game company doesn't call this behavior to light right now, all that happens is there's a video saying this game is bad and unplayable trash from one of the bigger content creators in the community, which is just going to create a really negative vibe around their Kickstarter. It's not a good situation for them to be in, right? They have an overwhelming interest in positive momentum right at this moment, and the fact that the video was released in the last in the last few days is just bad timing for the company. Whether or not it's blackmail, g'day Prototype. Whether or not it's blackmail is debatable. I don't think it's blackmail, because they didn't ever state, if you don't do this, all they said was, and you can go and read the emails, right? You can go and read the emails. They're available publicly. There's a whole shitstorm about this all over the place. Whether or not it was overtly discussed, it wasn't. But I just think there's a great quote, which is, never attribute to malice what you could attribute to stupidity. And I think that's probably the case here, more so than malice, which is that the dude's just made a fucking bad mistake in how he's... Yeah, it's wild, Buxo. How he's phrased his request. Because if we look at it in good faith, he's like, hey man, I really want to fucking do some good stuff for your game because I think it's awesome, but we're just really struggling with the rules. And I don't think there's any malice in that, right? But there's certainly some stuff that doesn't quite ring true about that side of the story either, which is to say that publicly on their video that they released, they said, I extend an invitation for these people to come down to our studio and we'll do a fucking series together. We'll pay for you to come up and, we'll sit down and we'll do some videos because I love your game and I want to do it. Nothing like that was ever mentioned in the email trail. So that's just a disingenuous face that he's presented to his community, whilst in the background he's saying, hey, pay me $7,500 and I'll fucking do this for you. So there's some elements about that side of the story that doesn't ring true. But ultimately, I don't believe it's blackmail. I don't believe it's extortion. I just believe it's stupidity. But what it has done is it's brought to light probably what I would call the seedy underbelly of the board game community. What reviewer can we take at face value now? You know, what paid content can we look at? Because a lot of the YouTube content for board games is marked as paid content. What can you take from that and say, yeah, wow, well this is totally fine. You know, this is a normal situation and everyone's in the right and there's no suspiciousness happening at all. Hello there, Jared. And no one's taken money and is falsifying their opinion for personal gain. It's just a no-win situation, unfortunately, for the consumer, for us. So, I'll just go quickly see if... Oh, mate, he's in the stream channel. Yeah. So I wish there was an amicable resolution for this, but unfortunately, I think both sides come out slightly worse off, although the reputation of Quackalope is significantly worse off than ITU so far. He's lost 2,000 subscribers in the space of a day and a bit. And that's the point for me, heretics. And again, I've said this on the stream before. Right? I don't begrudge people making a coin. You know, if you paint models because you need to survive, good for you, mate. I hope you're successful. It's a tough gig. Good luck to you. I never want to do that. Hey, Cujo, it was you, mate. I told him you're a shit painter. I don't want to do that, and so I refuse. But if other people want to do that, good luck to them. But yeah, as soon as I put my reputation on the line, I'm going to be honest and truthful at my unfortunately to my detriment on occasions, and I was given some free stuff from a couple of companies, and I said exactly how I felt. Said company has not sent me any more free shit, unfortunately, which is a real shame, because damn, I love free shit. But yeah, it's simple, right? The only thing that matters really is how good your word is. I don't think, and that's just a statement about life. I think the only thing that matters is if you do what you say. And when it comes to this instance, we have the reputation of someone who is basically building their brand on you can trust what I say. And we now have evidence to the contrary that we can't trust what they say because they would accept money to change their opinion. But it's a tough position to be in, friends. Like if that's your profession, if that's your job, and you're trying to feed your kids or whatever, fuck. It's a tough position to be in, right? So, and again, never attribute to malice what you could attribute to stupidity. I don't think this is malicious. I think this is just stupid. So anyway, yeah, good one, Cooge. And you'll notice that I also do not use artist's opus brushes. Take that from what you will. Anyway, I decided to, in a small way, contribute to something positive about said game. and paint a little bit of this and stream some games of Aeon Trespass Odyssey in the hopes of providing a little bit of positive support for something that I stated yesterday would be my absolute game of the year. That's another good observation, and sort of without going into too much details, a couple of other content creators a few 12 months ago actually stepped away from the guy for a similar reason, although that was not disclosed at the time. I think it was just they just sort of said, yep, we don't want to be associated with you as much anymore, and sort of moved away. And if you're interested in looking into a little bit more, the guy who makes the most successful board game of all time, Isaac Childress with Gloomhaven, on his Twitter, just absolutely baked the guy from Quackalo. Fucking gave him an absolute bath on his Twitter. So if you're interested, you can always go and see that. It is, mate, yeah. And again, it shouldn't be a popularity contest, right? So people don't always get on. There's a number of people who don't like me, and those people are idiots, but they're entitled to their opinion. On KDM minis, prototype, mate, I've painted a shitload of them. If you go and have a look at my channel, I've got 2 full playthroughs of Kingdom Death Monster. One People of the Stars campaign and one People of the Lantern campaign. Love it. Yeah, Cujo, I mean, I'm a subscriber of Quackalope. I'm a subscriber of Board Game Co. I like regular content to peruse about whatever it is board game related, and those guys do a lot of content. But my vibe on Quackalope for the last few months has always been irritation. He does a number of things that just annoy the fuck out of me. The first thing he does, he just talks over everyone. Just over everyone. Doesn't matter who. And one of the people that he does videos with is his fucking fiance, and he just talks over her. That annoys me a lot. I mean, I'm a loud voice, but I do like to think that I give other people an opportunity to speak. That's one. And then he constantly mispronounces things, which is another pet peeve of mine. At the moment, he's talking... Well, Cujo, he's extremely gushing because he's been paid for it, mate. He's paid to be gushing. That's where the drama stems from. It's fucking wild, mate. You should go and have a look at it. Absolutely wild. Yeah, and then he always starts every fucking video with, we're going to have a conversation. Everything's a conversation. It's not a conversation, mate. You're talking at us. That's not a fucking conversation. It's a video about you talking. Indeed. But one thing I did do out of this is go and subscribe to Board Game Co. Because he posted a video in response to this drama last night. And the video was one I was just really impressed with. He didn't try to throw anyone under the bus. He didn't dive into gory details. He just said, hey, this has happened. Unfortunately, I've lost subscribers over this, even though I haven't done any content with the guy for 12 months. Here is everything that you need to know about my paid content, about my unpaid content, how much money I make, everything that I've done. And I also find him annoying sometimes, but because of his transparency and openness, I was like, well, I'm going to support that. Frog Jim, what can I sing for you, champion? Yeah, to me that shows strong character. If you really want to watch a guy whose content is excellent and unbiased and scathing when he needs to be, it's King of Average. Name's Michael. Big fan of Big Dano's work, by the way. But yeah, he also did a video about this. Looked at it from both sides. You know, open and transparent. How do I do a song about Cujo? What rhymes with Cujo? Na 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 na. Hey, Cuj. Cuj, Cuj, Cuj. Na 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 na. Hey, Cuj. Cuj, Cuj, Cuj. Everyone should go and watch Cooge's videos. Apparently his fucking algorithm's struggling and he's not getting any subscribers and he lost 2,000 subscribers. What a dickhead. Hasn't used enough Big Dano in his videos, that's what I reckon. Na 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 na. Hey, Cooge. Or it'll have the opposite effect. So it's been a wild couple of days in the board game world, friends, and what I've taken away from it, always be open and transparent. Something I don't think I had too many problems with about things like paid content or paid reviews or products that you've received. Number 2. Try not to blackmail companies into paying you money to produce good videos. Bit of a pun there, bit of a joke, but try not to do that. And the main one, and this is one that I definitely preach quite regularly, is let's just not be fuckwits to each other, right? The amount of hyperbole and vitriol that has been flowing from both sides is just unnecessary, right? We just, it's so easy to get caught up in that rubbish on the internet. It's so easy to see someone post something and you'd be like, fuck you, I'm gonna show that guy, and post some fucking rubbish back and devolve into name calling and all that sort of stuff. And at the end of the day, we're all here because we like toy soldiers. Or we're all here because we like board games. And there's enough places in the world where you just get shat on for things that you like. It shouldn't be a place where other people that also like the same thing are shitting on you. That's just a fucking wrong approach, friends. All that I've read over the last couple of days on this topic, I have not posted one comment other than a supportive comment towards Board Game Co. for his approach, for his measured and calm and open and transparent approach. That's it. That's the only comment I've made. Now I've read it and I've been like, ooh. Doesn't mean I need to be a fuckwit to other people. And that is my genuine advice to all of you wonderful people, is just that. Let's be the change we want to see in the world. I have not unsubscribed to Quackalope at this point in time. I am still a subscriber. Whilst the evidence on that's been presented does not paint a wonderful picture for him, in my opinion, it does not paint a picture of someone unscrupulously trying to blackmail someone into something. I feel like, as I said, it's just a little bit of silliness, a bit of a mistake, And so I would much rather err on the side of giving that person an opportunity to explain or potentially change up. Hey Tui. Potentially just change up his approach to some things. And one thing that I'm a huge advocate of is giving people an opportunity to be better. My own life has been filled with a large variety of tremendous mistakes, particularly my work life, but also my personal life. And I wouldn't be where I am now without other people supporting me and giving me a chance to be better. Fuck you, Cujo. I don't want that. No conversations. Well, I think we have, right? But we forget that sometimes, don't we? When the red fucking fog sets in and you're just like, fuck you! You fucking dog! We've all been there. We've all made fucking mistakes. I've had some absolute howlers. Thank you very much, Tui. I have already mentioned that quote tonight. Well done. It's a great quote. I've had some absolute howlers. And a couple of them that, in many ways, I feel like I've never recovered from emotionally, personally, to the point where it's actually fundamentally changed who I am. One that comes to mind immediately is a... Just trying to decide if I should share this publicly. It's pretty interesting one. No, we will. We'll go full steam. We'll go full deno. There's nothing to hide here. We had many years ago. This is 2006, right? So I was 22 or something, pretty young. We were doing qualification events for a tournament, overseas tournament. It was the World Team Championships, and I played a game against another dude who we were both really in the running at a tournament. We're both in the running for this event. We'd never competed at the international scene before. We were both really desperate to make it, and it was quite late in the tournament. We were on the basically the final table, and a good finish for either of us was going to probably result in us getting enough points to qualify. So it was a huge moment. I won the game. I beat the guy, and back in the old days in Warhammer, you used to have a scoring system out of 20, where your maximum number of points you could score was 20, your minimum was 0, or any sort of delineation of that. A draw, you'd both get 10 points. Anyway, so I won the game, and the score was 13-7. And the dude that I played against, who I knew pretty well, basically came to me and said, "Hey, I've had this idea. I can sort of give you a little nudge towards the podium here if you could do something for me in the future at a tournament." And I foolishly didn't disabuse him of the notion. What I said was, "You can write down whatever score you want on the score sheet, mate." I didn't commit to anything. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. But when I came back, because I went away to the toilet, when I came back, he'd written down 17-3, which was not the correct score. This went unremarked upon by us, and a few months go by, and I qualified for the team. And in fact, I qualified for the team and I shattered in. I ended up being ranked 3rd in the country, and I made the team irrespective of how I went at that tournament. That tournament result was irrelevant. But the that year's event was sponsored. Was sponsored by a private sponsor, and he had contributed somewhere in the vicinity of 30 grand to the event. And when another friend of mine had found out about this happened, the other guy had not qualified and had spilled what he'd done to another guy, who then went to the organizer and said, "Hey, this is what's happened." they kicked me off the team. Said, you're not going. And I was pretty shattered. And as a result, I reflected on my decisions. And again, I had not at any point openly said, let's fucking cheat your dog. But I'd not made a strong enough argument against it, and I accepted it when it happened. The only way for evil to prosper is for good men to stand by and do nothing. That experience, and without putting too fine a point in it, mate, I had let my friends down because I was definitely one of the best 10 players in the country, and I wasn't going to the event where we were taking the best 10 players in the country because of a dumb shit mistake. And yeah, I some of the things I just said there make it seem like I'm trying to disabuse myself of responsibility for the situation. I'm not. It was absolutely 100% unequivocally a choice that I made, and I made the wrong choice. But what it has done over the last 20 years has allowed me to understand that every decision that I make has ramifications, and that the person that you have to look at in the mirror every day is the person that you have to be proud of the decisions that they've made. And I'm not proud of that decision, and that's something that I've lived with for however many years it is now. What is it? Nearly 20 years. But the way that I conducted myself and comported myself from that moment onwards, maybe not exactly that moment onwards, but certainly over a period of time after that, has completely changed the way that I approach games and life. And we're all responsible for our decisions. We're all responsible for the way that we act and what we decide to do. And that's allowed me to change, basically, fundamentally, the decisions that I made then to the decisions that I make now. So it's and I'm really fortunate, right? All of those people that were involved in that moment and that time, most of them I'm still friends with now. And the following year, I qualified for the event on my own merit, without cheating, and proceeded to go on an absolute fucking tear for the next 15 years for competitive toy soldier games. Would I have achieved that if I didn't have that lesson and that wake-up call? I don't know. Probably not. I probably wouldn't have been as accountable and understood the impact of my decisions. So, to bring this full circle back to my original point, Quackalope's made a mistake. I'm not going to fucking beat around the bush and say that he's a champion. He's fucked up. But everyone should get a chance to learn from their mistakes. He's a young man, I assume. Absolutely, definitely younger than me. So I'm not willing to throw someone under the bus for a mistake. Repeated mistakes. That's a different conversation. Continually doing the same things. Continually having a pattern of bad behaviour. No good. But a couple of mistakes, hey, you're okay. What's COD? And Tui, I'm right, there you go. Come on, Jared. Look, I'm grateful to have gone through that experience, as dumb as that sounds, because without a shadow of a doubt, that mistake put me on a significantly better path as a human being. and you know, I don't want to put too fine a point on it, right? But I don't know that I would have ended up a better human being from it without the support of other people. You know, having someone have your back and say, you know what, mate, you just fucking made a mistake. And my family is a huge part of my life. I don't know that I talk about him too much on this, but my dad is without a doubt my hero. He's just one of the greatest people I've ever met. He's funny, he's kind, he's helpful, he's just a great man. And you know, when that happened, I talked with my family about it, and they didn't fucking throw me under the bus. They also didn't give a shit, right, because it's toy soldiers, but they knew how much it meant to me. And so we talked about it, and we moved on, and we just try to be better each day. So I'll come back to my advice for you great people at this time about this specific incident. If the dude's made a mistake, that's okay. Let's just not be dickheads to each other. Acknowledge that a mistake was made. Support the guy getting better. That's a good one, Tui. Always like your approach to things, Tui. You're a very good man, mate. I don't know if I say that to you enough. Look, we got deep and emotional tonight, friends, and I wasn't really intending on it, but there you go. Just be good to each other, friends. We cop enough shit, you know? It's little toy soldiers. Just relax. Just fucking relax, eh? Ooh. Alright, we're going to paint this dude as well. In case you're wondering, friends, the level I'm going for with this board game is not extremely high quality Deno level. Hello there, Eric Zan. The quality that we're going for is, let's paint these bad boys so I can film some games. Yeah, Trent from Punchy. Well spotted. Just fucking relax, eh? So many birds after me. Oh, Tuya, scroll back if you want to learn a whole pile about it. But basically, there was a board game hullabaloo over the last couple of days that's taken up a lot of people by storm. For a variety of reasons, some unethical behaviour, some dodgy practices, big numbers of cash thrown around, etc., etc. You can, if you want to learn about it, mate, just either scroll back, I'd sort of talk through the whole situation, or just Google Quackalope. I'm sure it'll be the first thing that fucking pops up is a Reddit thread. But yep, don't want to dogpile on the guy. He's got enough on his plate at the moment. I'll just say one last thing. The timing for the poor champion is pretty unfortunate. He's literally about to get married next week, and he's just copped an absolute bake from the fucking community. So unlucky. No, I did try to make a joke that it was Cujo earlier, mate, but no, it's not someone in our circles, really. Again, a very good point there, Prototype. It isn't a large number of money, and probably, yeah, it's obviously a good topic to talk about, friends, because I have a lot of opinions. There's another guy whose videos I really like. His name is Paul Grogan, right? And he does a video channel called Gaming Rules. He's an incredible dude. He's not the most fucking enthusiastic chap, right? But he's nice to listen to. I really like the stuff that he puts out. And he's done a lot of really good, high quality videos about how to play games, right? So, anyway, on the Reddit thread that this stuff came about on, he just basically fucking said, I'm gonna fucking retire from this. Eric, this is from a game called Aeon Trespass Odyssey, my friend. Currently on Kickstarter, actually. I have the first printing. I didn't get anything special delivered. It's just the first printing. And the second printing is on Kickstarter at the moment. But anyway, Paul Grogan said, I have never made that much money from any video or anything I've ever done in my fucking career in this game, and I've been doing it for 10 years. And he basically said, I feel like I'm a fucking failure and maybe I need to give this up. Because I never get asked to do videos. The only guys that manufacturers want to get is the people with lots of subs and that spruik their content. And that's not me. So, when I read that comment, I was like, fuck. That's a really bad look for the board game reviewers that are successful, with the exception of probably Dice Tower, who I wouldn't say they're exempt from that, but they've just got so many, their fingers in so many pies. I don't think they could be anything but relatively above board. But yeah, it sort of highlights the problem that the board gaming community has at the moment, and the power that influencers wield, which is probably not a power that they should wield, you know. Because the unspoken observation about this situation is, well, Aeon Trespass Odyssey didn't pay $7,500 for content. What about the manufacturers that did pay that amount of money for the content? How many of them are there? How many of them have videos that we now basically can't take at face value because they've paid money? Is that a fair position to be in? No, probably not. You know, there's every possibility that those games and those reviewers are genuine about their opinion and they're enthusiastic about the product, but we can't know now unless they come out and disclose, yep, we received fucking $20,000 for this to speak positively about the game. Well, you've just lost all credibility, right? It's such a multifaceted issue, and again, one of the things I said at the start is I'm glad it's come to light, because at least it allows us to address some of these issues. That's yeah, a good observation, Tui. Influencers in general. Yeah, it's a tremendous game, Eric. I'm about to film some content, unsponsored content. I'm about to film some content for the game, of me playing through the game. I mean, hey Paul, I think at some point, right, most of us acknowledge that what we see on social media is not always the whole picture. I mean, there was a period in time where I did not miss a day of posting Little Toy Soldier pictures, right? I'd post a picture every day of stuff that I'd painted. And what I would usually do is do a lot of painting, and then if I missed a day, I would have a backlog of stuff that I could post. I was usually about a week or two behind where I was actually out on painting, just in case I had a couple of days off. That's disingenuous, right? I'm not accurately reflecting my gaming experience, my hobby experience. But I'm also not selling anything or promoting anything with my content. I'm just selling the perspective that I'm a incredibly fast and good looking painter, which is still true. So, where we end up after all of this hullabaloo is yet to be determined, indeed. My hope is that we will see more transparency from influencers about their content, about reviews and what have you. But that may also not happen. Nothing may change on that front. But I definitely think consumers will be a little more savvy when it comes to this type of content. Maybe. What's the thing? We don't know. G'day, Penny. What's happening here, champion? So where I ended up after that very long-winded story time with Deno is I'm going to paint some models from this game, and I'm going to start recording some playthroughs very, very shortly. And I'm actually going to do something that no one else on the internet has done, to my knowledge, which is start my playthrough at the second chapter. So the game has 3 cycles. So there's quite a significant amount of content. There's 3 cycles in the first box set. The second box set, which hasn't arrived yet, has another 2 cycles, and they're currently on Kickstarter with another 12. So it's a lot of shit. Everyone that's done content has done the first cycle, which is called the Truth of the Labyrinth. And that is a very good approach for maximising your content viewers. You're not providing any spoilers for people who haven't seen anything before. But I'm going to do Chapter 2. Chapter 2. Why? Because no one's done it. And secondly, because having played through the game twice now, I might add, it is my opinion that the second cycle is where the game absolutely demonstrates its greatness. There is a tutorial that you do before you move into Cycle 1. Cycle 1 feels like a bigger tutorial for Cycle 2, and Cycle 2 feels like where the game actually starts. It's tremendous. It's a wild ride, and I am absolutely pumped to be getting into it again. It is a lifestyle game prototype. My game tastes generally run towards games that have quite a lot of meat behind them, because I have no kids, I have no girlfriend, I can do whatever I want. Elise Wong! Elise! Woo 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 woo! Hello there, champions. Hello, Rube Sandwich. Welcome, friends. I'm just realising I haven't got any good shit here to show you. Let me just quickly... I'll be back in 30 seconds, friends. I'll get a cool model for you to look at. I'm back. I did it. I'm back. Welcome. Hello, Elise. Hello, everyone. This is the normal stuff that I paint, is stuff like this. This is a display model. This is a version of Athena, the goddess of wisdom from Greek mythology. And yes, this is something that I painted a lot of this on stream. She is just a bust. It's just the upper half of a model. I painted a lot of this on stream. And that's the sort of stuff I normally paint. If you go and have a look at my Instagram, you'll see more stuff. This is the only display piece I'm working at the moment, which is this little chick for a big project. But I decided to take a detour and paint some board game figures. This is a board game figure from the game I'm talking about at the moment. It's called Aeon Trespass Odyssey. And I do these ones as quickly as I can. This one took me about 30 minutes. Magnificent. I haven't painted any Warhammer miniatures for a while, Rube Sandwich. The main thing I've been painting from a gaming perspective has been Marvel Crisis Protocol. I've painted 100 MCP models in the last little while. You can also see those on my recent streams. I've got a big pile of them up there, just above me. So yes, at the moment I'm painting this, which is for the Aeon Trespass Odyssey game I was just talking about. And that's what I'm doing. Thank you, mate. Elise, when you say light source, do you mean for your eyeballs, or do you mean a light source for painting? Like a light source on the model? Cool. Let me show you a little bit of my setup if you like. I can do that relatively easily, I think. Drop a paint on the floor, he says. Alright, welcome to the streaming area. So as you can see, I have a this is called a Task Light Lumi. So it's a jewelry lamp. It costs about $250 Australian, which is about $7 US. That is the only light source I need. I have a second light up here, which is the Task Light XL, which is exactly the same light, just an earlier version, but that's just basically for my face. If you look at the model on the board, on the mat here, if I turn this off, you can see there's not really any change on the model, but my face goes away. So that one is just for my face. That's the only light I use to illuminate the figure. What's more important is this bad boy, the camera, which you can see over here. I have a 4K camera, and this little thing allows me to adjust the exposure, and that's the key part for getting the figures to look right, is being able to adjust the exposure. So I can tweak that relatively easily. Here's my MCP models, by the way. And then here's my wet palette. And here's my microphone right next to my head. And there's a collection of projects that I haven't fucking done anything on in ages. And here's my screen right in front of me. And there's the thing that you're looking at my face on. This is fun, isn't it, friends? There it is. See, there you go. I was confused by your question. But it's okay. Everyone got to see it anyway. How do I do the lighting for the miniatures, shadows, etc.? Well, that's a great question. I like to start with a thing called a zenithal prime. So a zenithal prime is where you take a white and you light the figure from above using white over a black undercoat, and it creates artificial lights and shadows. So that's the first thing I do. That, because of the lighting already sort of being distributed for you, you don't really need to think about where to place your highlights and shadows. It's already done. So by using that approach, I find you get a much more consistent lighting effect. But there's pros and cons to that method as well. From there, it's just about understanding how the volumes work. And when I use the term volume, what I mean is just a surface area. So for example, this leg is a volume, and it's about understanding how light would interact with that volume. And you know, a good trick that I was shown many years ago that I still do to this day is think about how that volume would interact with light if it was broken down into shapes. So as an example, a shape, a cylinder. I'll even draw you a little picture on my thing here. So if we have a cylinder, and we have light coming from the top, the only area that gets light is actually the top of the cylinder. However, if we have light coming from slightly in front of it at the top, then what we get is light at its brightest point here, and then as we go further out, it gets less bright from there. So you have a clear understanding of how the light would interact with this cylinder. So what we do is we turn this shape into a cylinder. And so this object here, we're going to have light running down the front line like this. We're going to have shadows underneath. So it's really just a matter of understanding how all of the volumes interact with light and then being able to implement that with your paintbrush. So there's two parts to being a good miniature painter in my books. The first is knowledge, and the second is practice. I think people forget sometimes that more often than not, it's the second one that holds us back and not the first one. Blech. If you go back a little way back on my YouTube channel, quite a way back, I actually did some start to finish tutorials. I sound like I'm plugging my content a lot tonight. I'm not intending on doing that, friends. I did a lot of tutorials start to finish on how I approach painting a figure, and on a lot of those I do talk about that topic a little bit more in depth. Mate, you're welcome, Elise, and thank you for joining me. And thank you for the raid. Everyone should go check out Elise's stuff. Let's give her a shout out. I'm fucking bad at shout outs, actually. I don't even think I've got them set up. Elise's got bunnies, everyone. Bunny rabbits. Go follow that channel, great people. Make it happen. I don't have mods. This is a solo gig. I don't have enough friends. Trying to decide if I add some purple to this guy. I think it's an absolute must-have. Bit of purple. In the game, this guy is called the Hermesian Pursuer. Hermes is, of course, the Greek messenger god. He was famous for his speed. And this guy chases you across the map. There's one of my mods just doing something other than moderating my channel.
Let's go.
Oh, Buxo's joined us as well. Why not? Not that one, Dino. Not that one.
No hard feelings, but this feeling's hard.
I don't know where you're... Oh, there it is. Boom, shake, shake, shake the room. Dr. Tractor, I probably won't do one in it for a little while because I've gone a little bit ham and I've actually painted everything. So here's the Nietzschean. I did him already. I already finished this guy so far. This is the Sisyphean ball. It's called the Burden. And I'm going to try painting this guy tonight as well because it's just very, very quick paint jobs. But I've already painted all of the other models I need for this thing already yesterday. So I probably won't do too much more. I sort of am a little bit regretful that I have just done quick jobs on them because it would be nice to do some more elaborate paint jobs on these because they're really cool figures. But there's only so many games I can invest huge amounts of time in painting the models. Bucks knows what I'm saying, hey. There's too many models to paint. And sometimes it's just like, fuck. I'd rather play with
not enough models. People need to like relax on the beating themselves up about how many models they paint and don't paint, eh?
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure, mate, that you and I and our immediate others who kick around and paint in our groups paint pretty consistently, and I'm seeing nobody's piles go down, mate. I'm only seeing piles go up.
My pile's pretty small. That's my pile there. Pile of potential. That's it, Elise. There's way too many models that I want to paint, and I'm not going to have the time to do them all. So that's okay. Let's just make sure we make a big dent in it.
It's cool to see people all around the world like trying to like destabilize the stigma of the pile of shame. I'm a big fan of it.
Roman's video the other day was great, wasn't it? Just like,
yeah,
it's okay.
It's a message close to our hearts, right? It's something that we talk about all the time out here.
Yeah. Yeah, as I've said many times on this stream, and we're starting to see some more prolific YouTubers like Miniacs that say a similar thing, which is, fuck, just paint because you want to paint, friends. Just enjoy it, you know? I'm going to get credit from him in one of his videos. He's going to say, Deno's changed my life and the way I think about fucking painting. I'm going to say, you're welcome, Scott. You're fucking welcome, mate.
About time. It's
about time you acknowledged it. Especially after your egregious fucking miss at Big Dano on your fucking Diorama episode of Trapped Under Plastic, you dog.
That's like, we've mentioned this literally every week for like 6 weeks running, so I'm sure there's people here who watch Miniac. Like, feel free to just add him about this.
Yeah,
I need this resolved, man, because I have to listen to this every week. So
just give him a fucking bake, eh? Seriously, it's not good enough.
Let's get him on. Let's get him on.
Let's get him on. Yeah, let's get him on. Yeah. I'll send him a message, man. I need you to come onto my stream and answer to your fucking fans as to why you left Deno off the fucking Diorama episode. You dog.
Yeah, we'll just go in. Give him a serve.
I'm ready. Anyway,
I feel like, my friend, that you're chomping at the bit to just rifle off a few, eh? Like, you know, you mentioned the other week, you mentioned Party Monday After Dark, where you just cut sick. I feel like someone's gonna cop it soon. I don't know who it is, but someone's getting it.
Look, I'm not shy of having a lash. There's no doubt about that. But in most of the time, it's in good fun. It's just a bit of jesting. But every now and then, there's a little gem of truth hidden in there. And look, I'm not going to lie. I'm devastated that I didn't make the cut for the Diorama episode. It hurts. It hurts me in my soul.
That's a scar at this point.
Mate,
like it's not healing. So we need to either heal it or cauterize it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Tui as well. But look, Tui, you know, your dioramas are works of art, mate, and you're just not well known outside of Denmark. But I've got to tell you, mate.
Leaving Tui off. Hey, Tui, by the way. Leaving Tui off is a sin.
See you, Elise. Thanks for the raid. You're a superstar. Go follow Elise, everyone.
Hey, mate. How are ya? Yeah, I'm backing you, Tui. Your dioramas and your...
Yeah, your dioramas are better than mine, mate. Like, let's be real. Yeah. My only saving grace is mine are about 5 times bigger than yours. So that's the only thing I've got going for me.
And Deno's louder as well. So.
That's true. Actually, that's probably not true. Tui's pretty loud guy. He's the guy walking around with no shoes.
The barefooted judge, eh?
What a legend. I've taken a leaf out of Tui's book at Crystal. Crimson. Wearing no shoes. That's a Tui move.
Yeah. He says you use way more colour than him too. This is true. I reckon you can put like aggressive and colour. Those two words that combine together when describing you, Trent.
Aggressive and colour, yeah.
Yeah.
That's two strong words to use, mate. How are you, Bucks? What's been going on?
Look, man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great, actually. I'm feeling great.
Good.
I had a big ass sleep, right? I wasn't sleeping well for a little bit. And then I was like, we've had a little bit of sickness floating around in the house. Yeah, I was a bit sick last week. Abby, my mum, and then Abby's mum, like everyone's been a bit crook. But no, it's not really taken anyone, you know? Like no one's been got by it. It's just been sort of nagging. And then I think I copped a little bit of it. But I slept a good like 11, 12 hours. I woke up at about 12:30 today. I felt fresh. I sat down at the painting table. I looked at a muscly ass man named Solrak and said, "You and me, buddy, we got a date with destiny."
And did you start him?
I did more than start him.
Oh, did we?
Wild. We got wild.
We're going buck wild, have we?
We put 5 hours of steady lifting in.
Or should we say we've gone bucks wild?
We've gone bucks wild, yeah.
Outstanding.
The buck stops here, mate.
Oh, doesn't it? What?
At some points in the journey, I wasn't sure if it was me or the brush, or I was the brush. You know.
All right, now I know you cooked. I love it.
Unbuckle with bucks.
No, it's good. It's good stuff, mate. I wish I was in that same headspace. I'm just not there at the moment with the project that I started. It's crushed me a little bit, but you know what I attribute it to? You're going to know the answer to this question, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I attribute it to the fucking week and a half of extra waiting that I had to do when I was just frothing. I was just ready to go. You know how you have that juice and it pushes you through the shit times?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get that.
I think you're onto something, but I got something else, right?
All right.
You're a sporting man. You're back in the sport. By everyone who comes to the stream and doesn't know, Deno's picked up touch football again at the tender age of 40. He's the motivational leader. He's the motivational leader of the team. He's the star player. I don't think the team's pulled down too many wins, and he's been telling me all about it. Right? But as a sporting man, Trent, did you play in many grand finals?
I did play in a number of grand finals, yes.
So you know about the grand final burnout, yeah? Where you are so focused in the lead up. You do everything right. You get everything right. Everything's right. You're ready to go. You're like, you've visualized it. You're like, I'm going to take this down. I'm going, you know, if you're a basketball player, you're like, I'm going for 40. If you're a touch player, you're like, I'm getting 3 touchdowns. I'm laying some big tackles. It's going to be great. You visualize it, you get to the moment, and it just doesn't happen. That's what's happening to you right now.
Let me tell you right now, mate. There was a game where it was a semi-final, and I scored 7 tries in one game in a semi-final. I was literally untouchable. They could not get near me. One of the dudes on the other team came up to me after the game and said, "Mate, it's like you fucking got spiders on you. No one wanted to go near you." We lost next week. We lost next week 10-0. The grand final. We got smashed. Mm-hmm. And I just sat down after the game and I said, "Fuck, I peaked early, didn't I?" And yeah, so I sort of understand the sentiment here, mate. It is very much just you put a lot of effort into the thing, and sometimes it doesn't come together. It doesn't work because you've put too much. You've overthought it, and you've cooked yourself.
You want it. You want it too much.
You've cooked yourself.
You want it too much.
Yeah.
You need it to be good. You need it to be great, and you can see it in your head, and it's good and it's great.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Paul, there is not it's not a lot of hard contact in touch football, but there is hard contact in some games, and I will share a little story with you in a second. I don't know if I've told this one on stream before. I don't think I have. About a game of touch that I played a few years back now, many years ago. But yeah, I think you're on the point, mate, because we talked it up, right? We were talking, mate, this is going to be it. I'm going to put together a banger for Guilds in. Man, I haven't painted...
You were ready to take heads. You were like, yeah. I am coming.
I haven't painted a fucking decent figure in about 2 years, mate. So it was ambitious of me to say that I was gonna pull it out of it for this one. But so I'm cleansing the palette. I'm doing some of these bad boys now, and we'll see where we go.
Reset.
Yeah, we'll
We've
see.
got plenty of days between now and then.
Yeah, it's not 30 days like you were trying to tell us there was the other week.
Listen, I can't be held responsible for buying into a clock that was on a website that was wrong. Right? But that's my own fault. I should use my brain more.
You should. Let me tell you
more, believe less.
Yeah, let me tell you this story because it's a wonderful insight into Big Deno, I think. It's also an opportunity for me to talk up how great I am, which is something I never miss a chance to. 67, there you go. Thanks, Jared.
67 is like, listen, you can go ham, right? Let's just explore this a little bit longer before you go into this stuff.
67 days, that's enough time to do Camelot.
That's enough time to do 2 Camelots.
Camelot!
I'm thinking I'm taking a portfolio.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying it now.
I want to push the Camelot. Yes. I do actually have... Here's one I prepared earlier. Actually, do I still have it somewhere? Is it this one? Of course it is.
I've got a wet ass beard. Look at this. I've never seen this before. Take me through it, champion.
This is a lovely little thing I like to call the Echoes of Camelot Champion. It's 5 individual scenes comprising of 12 figures, 13 if you're eagle-eyed, from the recent Big Child Echoes of Camelot Kickstarter. And each of those scenes retells a wonderful moment in the story of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Tremendous. And you'll notice that the project is also on a round table. How wonderful.
Harmony.
It's just poetry in motion, isn't it?
It is. I mean, are you in the Lancelot camp or the Arthur camp when it comes to the Guinevere? Is it Guinevere sweepstakes?
I'm in the Arthur camp.
Oh, he got there first.
Yep.
Lancelot was a handsome man.
Let me tell you this story. It's a good story, but it's also probably not a good story for people listening at home. There was when I started playing touch football, I was playing in a team with my dad. One of my great memories of playing as a young fella, I was 15 and I was playing with my dad. It was awesome. And so the team that I was playing on was pretty much all my dad's mates, but all my dad's mates were a little bit younger than him. I don't know how he'd met him through various things. So they were all sort of late 20s, early 30s, and my dad was 35 or 36, and he was basically nearing the end of his sporting career. And I was 15, I come out and I'm playing with him and having a great time. And what ended up happening was my dad retired and all of these other dudes, their kids started joining the team. They're little teenage boys. There was 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds. And we played together for quite a few years. And we got to a point where I was mid-20s. And I was also playing a little bit of rugby league at the time. And then all these other guys were getting pretty old, and all their kids were like 17, 18, and they were good, but they were also very young. So we actually played in a really high division. We played in a comp out at Redcliffe, and we played against a lot of ex-Australian players. I don't know if I ever told you, but I played against Petro Sivanasiva and Brad Thorne, who are pretty famous dudes in rugby league world.
Brad Thorne rings a bell. I'm not a...
Yeah, he's a rugby union. He's a dual international.
All black. South, it's footy down here, so...
But we played in a really high comp, and so this particular night it was against a team of ex-Australian representatives in touch football. So they're a very, very good team. Also older and enjoyed a bit of niggle. And so all of the older statesmen were away that night. It was basically me. I was the oldest person there, and it was just all the kids. They were good kids. They were sharp, right? But they were just kids. And so they started picking on them, and the other team was running in very aggressive with their touches. And one instance, they ran up and they made a touch on one of our players. He was 15, and he punched him in the guts, like straight punched him. And the ref's literally standing 3 meters away, and didn't want to do anything because he was gutless and because these guys were pretty big voices. So this poor kid's come off the field. He's like, he can barely breathe. He's crying. And I said, I got you, fam. I ran on the field, right?
Yeah.
And we were starting to defend, and this guy got past the ball, and I just lined him up and just cut him in half. Like I went 100%, 100 mile an hour, and hit him right in the solar plexus. He was horizontal before he knew it, and then he was on the ground, and I was all over him, just fucking absolutely buried him. Anyway, he got up fucking absolutely throwing haymakers and like pushing and shoving and what have you. And I just was like, oh, sorry, mate. I got sent to the sin bin, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, you wear it.
Yeah, that's fine. I was like, I copped that. He got sent to the sin bin. The game ends a couple of minutes later. And well, I go over to shake his hand, and I said, and he's like, what the fuck was that? And I said, don't fucking punch little kids, you dickhead. And so he then punched me right in the face. And
nice.
He did not miss me. So I had a fucking big old busted cheek, busted lip.
Look, he's in the wrong for laying out a 15-year-old.
He is.
He stuck to his chop, right? And he gave it back to you as well. So he was an equal opportunist, giving it to everyone.
Yeah. I took the punch on the chin, said, very well, mate, I deserve that. I took the law into my own hands.
Yeah.
It started an all-in brawl with everyone on the...
Get rubbed out?
Hey?
Did anyone get rubbed out, or...?
I got suspended for 8 months. I wasn't allowed to play touch football for 8 months at any competition, in any competition anywhere. That guy got 2 years. He was not allowed to play again. I don't think he ever came back after that. He wasn't allowed to play for 2 years. So, but anyway, the reason I tell this story is it is a little bit of contact on occasion. The old touch football.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can probably share stories, or for the rest of the night about sporting incidents in our life. I mean, I'll leave it with, I stopped playing basketball last year, the year before, right? The year before. Our whole team was suspended and fined. And I thought, at 36, with the whole team getting suspended and fined, probably a good time to hang the boots up. That's probably, or the put the ball down. So
that'll just about do me, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get fined, no.
And we got fined.
Did you get fined? Unlucky. I did not get fined.
Some odd ones. I don't think I've showed you, but I have I have a bunch of scars on my face, and I have a wild one that goes from like here to here, where a dude just thought, you know what, I've had enough of you. Threw a wild elbow, a back elbow, right? Boom, rocked me, split my whole head open. Instant, like, whole face red, squirting out all over the floor.
Yep.
And partly because of shock or whatever, I don't know, but I didn't move, I didn't budge, right? And I just was staring him down, and then the adrenaline kicked in, and I was like laughing at him and smiling like a bit of a maniac, right? Spitting blood all over the place.
So good.
And the look on this guy's face was like, what have I done?
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, I was having a very hot game. It was a finals game. We were down by 2, and I got pulled out of the game, and they wouldn't let me back in the game. So I was pretty furious in their like medical bay type thing at the centre. And of all my players, I had a big fella named Gareth who was a defensive stopper, right? He was a physical guy. He was there to give 5 fouls every night. You know, he was going to make life tough. And he took a huge rebound under the basket to score 2 points to even the game. And then we got a stop. And then he got to the other end, and he got fouled on the way up on another rebound and made one, missed one, and we won by 1 point. He scored 3 points that night. 3 points to win the game.
What a champion.
What a hero, right? What an absolute hero.
How good is just staring someone down when you got clocked? That guy punched me right in the chops, and he kept swinging, right? And I didn't throw a punch. I just sat there and looked at him while he's just fucking giving it to me. It started an all-in brawl, right? There was people were coming from everywhere. People were coming from the next field over to get in on it. It was wild. But I didn't throw a punch, and that's why I only got 8 months. Fucking hell. Good times. Anyway, what's our little toy...
Bring a bit of this into the painting world, eh?
What's our little toy soldier topic for tonight, Andrew?
I didn't have one prepared tonight, actually. I thought I'll let you swing into it. I mean, we could do part 2 or historicals. I think we'll let that one breathe for a little bit. We had some fun yesterday. We went through your whole catalogue of PMP and had a long discussion about the journey for you. We also sort of had a bit of fun looking at our favourite painters in the world and where we think they are. So there's some stuff.
Andrew got very excited about putting together a top 10 list of the top 10 painters in the world.
Us, mate, because you've got some absolute...
According to Andrew. And wow, there was some notable omissions. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh. Under the bus. That's fine. I live under the bus. I got a little house down there.
It was appalling actually the way he spoke about some of those painters. I was disgusted.
I was cutting sick, wasn't I?
No, we were having a bit of a paint yesterday after streams and what have you, and Andy just got very excited about talking about the best painters in the world, and we were looking at putty and paint. It was a good discussion. Would you like to share your top 10 list?
You want the top 10?
I think so, yeah. Put the top 10 out. See if anyone disagrees with it. I don't think the top 10 list is the controversial part of the conversation, by the way, mate.
Yeah. So it's a top 10 list, but it's just a top 10 of where we think it's at right now, and it's about a overall contribution. So it's less about,
Stop justifying, mate. Just drop it.
Yeah.
Drop the 10.
I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, man. So who have we got at number 1? Can you remember?
The one, the only, the Grandmaster himself, Kirill Kanave.
Kirill Kanave at number 1. Does anyone feel free to disagree in the chat? Tear us apart if you don't like that. You're out of touch. I'm out of time. But I'm out of my head when you're not around. Kirill. Right, so Kirill at 1. Number 2. This was hotly discussed, but we had Mark Masklin at number 2.
Masklin's number 2. Acceptable.
Topic: best board game for miniature quality. That's a good one. We can do that one probably tonight as well. Number 3, Ruben Martinez. Number 4, Popovichenko, and number 5, Land. You got very, very passionate about making sure Land was in the top 5, didn't you?
I do, and I will tell you a little bit about that. So I'll use my criteria as a discussion. The thing that I was looking for from my top 10 list, the things that I think justifies someone to be in the top 10, is how special are they, and how much have they shaped or influenced the scene in a unique way. Kirill is...
You're talking a unique style.
Yeah.
A strong contribution to teaching and developing
the
community and styles systems.
Now, Kirill is, for me, undoubtedly number 1 because of his influence on both historical and fantasy, and literally every fucking top miniature painter in the world goes, well, who's the best painter in the world? And everyone goes, Kirill. He has to be number 1. Number 2, Masklin's has really got his position based on consistency. Ruben has... Ruben...
There's a strong representative of the historical painter.
We felt like we needed a historical painter that wasn't Kirill in the top 10. And Popovichenko is currently ranked number 2 on putty and paint. And that was where we pulled most of it.
Number 1 on putty.
It could have been Danilo Cartacci. We could have gone there. We didn't. We went Popovichenko. Ruben has completely shaped an entire generation of miniature painters via Big Child. Popovichenko is one of the best historical proponents. And Lan is someone who completely revolutionised, in my opinion, non-metallic metals in the way that people painted it, and is representative of a very Polish style and approach. So I felt Land's the top 5.
We did have some discourse on Land, because I felt just as passionately about putting Krzysztof Kovalchuk in there in the same spot, because I thought they both from the same region have contributed pretty firmly. So
yeah, I would not have an argument if someone was like, Popovichenko does not belong in the top 10. I would not say, hey, I'm going to fight you on
We
this.
actually have an asterisk next to his name as well.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not going to fight you on this. Was my position, but
no, we were soft. We were like, listen, we want to put a historical painter in the top. It's easy. It was easy. It was weak work. We were lazy. We took the top painter on P&P.
now I do think Popovichenko does some great stuff. Hasn't done a lot of stuff recently again. And yeah, Tui, it's a great point, mate. We don't need to, right? But I think something that Andy and I are pretty passionate about is that we actually love historical painting, and we want to see historical painting continue to evolve more and more. And you know, if you can't be what you can't see, so if we don't include Popovichenko on our list, you know, then we're not living and breathing the fact that we want to see more representation from historical artwork, etc.
Yeah, we're a little bit, I guess, where we are in the world, we're a bit naive. Well, you see, Tui, we mentioned each week that we're probably a bit naive, and we actually had a good chat about it last week, based on where we are in the world and our scene. We don't have the opportunity to take part in everything that you guys do. So we're always going to be a little bit behind and a little bit with our finger off the pulse. We will always have the perspective of onlookers rather than participants when it comes to the global scale. So excuse our naiveties if they do.
Naivete.
If they offend in any way, but yeah, all we can do is go off who we are and what we enjoy. And I guess the division maybe there is obviously been some divisions between historicals and fantasy over the years, but here where we are, it's not as much a thing, I don't think. So, to Trent's words, I agree. We both really do love historicals and represent it a little bit more in what we do. So,
Can't be what you can't see. Can't be what you can't see. It's a good saying.
Yeah, that's a great saying.
You're absolutely right, Tui. But that doesn't mean that historical painting can't be revolutionised into a new form. And I think if you look at what Big Child's doing with some of their recent releases in historical form, that have much more of a fantasy aesthetic. There was another one that I tagged Bucks in on the weekend, which was a historical figure that had a real fantasy vibe. You know, I think
it's the Pegaso one as well, right? With the knight and the horse. That was
Gaming Gruffy. So yeah, I think whilst you're right that we're not seeing anywhere near the level, quantity, or quality of historical work that maybe we used to, we are potentially poised to see historical move in a different direction and maybe inspire people a little bit more to want to pick it up. And hopefully people like Masculins and Kirill are at the forefront of shaping that. Yeah, if you want to get technical, we've actually got 3 historical painters in our top 5, which is a wild statement.
Well, we actually said that a good chunk of these painters we have Kartachi in the top 10 as well, so we can, we've probably led pretty firmly into people who paint in both aspects.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect point too, right? Like, so we had a chat last week actually about historicals and gatekeeping and how what we want to do is kind of just tear that down and tear it down through action, So, although Trent and I are both probably considered fantasy painters, we both, like we've said, have a bit of a love for doing historical stuff and doing historical stuff in a way that speaks to us. So, we talked specifically about maybe not leaning into the specifics of the work that you're doing, and more a feel, I guess.
But still in a respectful way. I think it's important because
of course, yeah.
Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Let's use the cool historical stuff that does exist to shape and inform how we progress and move forward. Respectfulness. We stand on the shoulders of giants. Proceed, Andrew. I'm banging out some bangers tonight, aren't I?
You are. You're on fire. You're hot. You're carrying us tonight. 6 is Arnow.
Arnow. And that was one that I was controversially not wanting to include in the top.
Mm-hmm.
7.
7 is a robot.
Another one that controversially I think could also not be in the top 10.
Number 8, Wardle.
If we use my logic of why I think lands in the top 5, that explains why I also feel like Andy's in the top 10. Because he's the best exponent or proponent of painting miniatures in the Games Workshop style.
9 was Kartachi, and 10, which you were incredibly passionate about, was Zaba.
Yep. And I reckon I'll get nothing but love from Tui for that call.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of people that we were tossing up in the top 10, right? Like we could have said Albert, we could have said Francesco, and we ended up doing a top 15, which included both of those guys. But if you want to get absolutely 100% accurate about David Aroba as a painter, he is a phenomenal painter. He is probably better than Ruben. However, without Ruben, David Aroba does not exist. So I put my top 10 hat towards Ruben. Sergio, also, probably the painter I'm most inspired by. Didn't make our top 10 list. Should he have? Could he have? Absolutely.
Well, the next two we have when we escape the top 10, probably without our heads, if we were standing up in front of all the painters in the world. We had Francesco and Benji, right? So again, it's a hard thing to balance. It's a hard thing to balance those who have contributed in massive amounts, in massive ways across miniature painting, with those who are very active right now, producing lots and lots of work.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is where Banshee, which is where
a GOAT list.
Banshee, Roman Lepart, guys like that, contribution to the community puts him in the top fucking 3. But recent stuff probably doesn't make the list. And I'll live and die by that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Again, we're not doing a GOAT list, so we haven't mentioned yours truly.
Tui, you would probably be at number 16, mate, without a shadow of a doubt. Hey, do you agree with my position on putting Lucas Zaba in the top 10? Interested in your take, Tui?
No. Okay.
Fuck you, man.
I also didn't have Zaba in the top 10, but Dave was very passionate about.
Well, Tui, it's good to know that you're wrong.
Well, why don't you elaborate on some reasons why you had Zaba, why you're so passionate about having...
I will. And I think it comes back to what I deemed my criteria for people being in the top 10. If we wanted to include the top 10 painters in the world as seen by us, as seen by the things that we are most inspired by, it's probably Ruben Martinez, David Aroba, Sergio Calvo, Miguel Minis, fucking Vilches, the dog, right? Right, it's just a top fucking 10 of Spanish legends.
And for the great Spanish hits of all time, right? He wants Spanish guitar and Ruben just singing to him, serenading him with recipes and methods.
Top 10 painters of all time, in my books, is Vilches, followed by Vilches, and then fucking Ruben. It's just, that's it.
Vilches.
However, the criteria that I was using was I can pick one person that's representative of a style, and I think a person who's representative of that style. For the Spanish, it's Ruben, because he is the one who has founded, if you like, and brought all of those painters up through Big Child, through, those works. So he is the forefather of that style, in my opinion, and he is the person who gets in my top 10. Aroba is probably a better painter than Ruben right now, but is just kind of doing the same thing. Now, why I think...
Maybe Ruben, every time Ruben paints something, your head turns.
I know. Why I think Zaba, and to a lesser extent, Land, belong in the top 10 is because when you drop a picture of a Lucas Zaba piece, it is immediately recognizable as a Lucas Zaba piece. There is no doubt that it's him that's painted it. His style, his sculpting, his approach to painting, it's just immediately recognizable. And without putting too fine a point on it, there's not many people out there in the world that do that, right? There's not many people who you can put a fucking piece of work down and go, there's no one else in the world that could have painted that. That is that guy, right? Land does incredible stuff. There's a lot of people that are imitating Land now, but he was the guy who really popularized that crazy style of non-metallic metal. Zaba has not really been imitated by anyone else. He's a dude out on his own doing crazy cool stuff. His
He's a bit of a jack of all trades too, right?
Yeah,
He's
sculpting,
producing.
Yep. His use of oils. You know, the stuff. Yeah, there you go, Jose. The stuff that Zaba does, when you see it in the flesh, that dude that was on the elk was just absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. So for me, he makes the top 10, and I'm vehement about that because he's one of the only people in there that really is doing different things. Kirill's in the list because it's Kirill, but he's the same thing. He does things that no one else thinks about or does because he's fucking Kirill. When he painted a reflection of Joan of Arc banner in the back of a fucking metallic thing, everyone's brain just fucking melted. It was like, what is wrong with you, guy? Like, you are crazy.
I think if you're responsible for changing the way that people think about miniature painting to any extent, you know, your contributions are massive. So.
Yeah, I mean, we can only go back in our real recent history too, but you know, you got guys like Pietro Bologna, who probably deserves to be in there as, you know, Italian. You know, we put Francesco at 12. He could be in the top 10.
He's 11, yeah. Francesco's at 11, yeah.
You know, but if you want to talk about impact, Alfonso Giraldez easily makes the top 10 for impact, easily makes the top 5.
Yeah.
Has probably not produced as many bangers in the last few years, but, mate, still drops bombs on it every now and then. But
well, I guess, again, we're talking about art here, right? So, like,
it is a subjective.
It's very subjective and it's a bit of fun.
It is a subjective conversation that we had yesterday whilst painting some models to pass the time. Andy and I would come up with a different list.
If we did it right now, we'd have a different list. And if we did it tomorrow, it'd be a different list again. And yeah, Tui, that's what you mentioned there, the fade over time factor is why names like, you know, titanic names of miniature painting probably are not featured as much on this one because it's about now as much as it's about any other criteria. So now there's an interesting one because Vilches hits 13.
Yep.
I feel good about that.
I love Vilches.
This is one that people might be real sassy on because we have Albert at 14.
Yep. Albert's tremendous.
And Albert's in ascendancy at the moment after his results at Golden Demon, and obviously, shamefully, we don't have Maxime Pinard on this as well.
Yeah, Maxime could be in there. Like, we actually haven't got any real French painters in there.
Yeah.
There's no like guys jumping out, and Maxime's one of the French painters, so he should probably be in the list. Secret Workshop, in case you're not following him on Instagram. Tremendous painter. Won the Slayer Sword a couple of years ago. Sculptor too. Cool stuff.
Sculpted one of my favourite busts.
I think you got Dave at 15, haven't you?
We've got Dave at 15 because, you know what, we wanted some again, a little bit of biasness maybe, but we wanted an Australian representative, and Dave's been fairly consistent with his works over the last 18 months. And he's got to be knocking right on that door.
Yep. Tui would, and something we talked about was, if we did this list 3 years ago, right, it's a completely different list. You know, Natalia was absolutely on a fucking tear a couple of years ago. She's in the top 5 for sure. 2-3 years ago, you know, Tui's.
Yeah, well, Cujo mentioned Natalia, and this is Natalia's been teaching now for the last sort of couple of years. Has been a priority for her, and she's released a couple of really nice pieces. But if you go back, like 24 months, 2.5 years back, she was like boom, boom, like just throwing haymakers. So.
One thing, and the original thing that sparked this conversation was, currently I'm ranked 22 or 21 on Putty and Paint, and I said, there is no way in fucking hell I should be ranked in the top fucking 22 painters in the world. That is just blatantly incorrect, and we need to address that. So there's just so many incredible painters, and so we were like, well, who is your real top 10 then? Who's your real top 10? So
Yeah.
that was what it stemmed from.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think look, we had Natalia in the 15 to 20 bracket.
Yep.
Um,
Kovalchuk was in the 15 and 20 bracket.
yeah, I wanted Kovalchuk much higher, but I got my way on some other ones. So
It was a good conversation. I like having those interesting discussions and finding out what things makes you excited as a painter and what things make me excited as a painter. And what we learned was that the things that we value are slightly different. I'm sure that surprises no one, but
I'm gonna redact. I'm gonna make a move here.
oh, how dare
As
you
much
without my
as
consultation?
I love Danilo, I'm actually gonna take Danilo out and I'm gonna put Redavid at 9.
I despise you as a human being.
That's fine.
That is unacceptable behaviour.
Polish bias, Polish bias. All my friends in Poland, I love you.
Unacceptable behaviour. How dare you? No,
Max has spoken.
mate. Kovalchuk's superstar.
Your turn. Your turn. You've got one move. I've made my move. What's your move? You can pull someone out and put someone in. Anyway.
I would like to put Maxime Penord into the top 7.
Into 7. You want Aroba out?
No, I want Kurilenko out. Bump everyone up.
Yeah. Popovichenko you want out?
Popovichenko, yeah.
Okay. And you want Maxime in?
Maxime in, yeah.
All right. So we'll go Lander 4. Look, we've both made a move, and we're going to give chat a move as well.
Yep, you get one move.
Chat, you're going to get one move.
Post the top 10 as it stands in the chat, buddy.
I will.
So that
Let me just do this. So we don't actually have, or we do. 8, and I'm putting Maxime at 10. At 10 to start with. Okay, I'm just adding it.
Yeah,
you're not giving him the spot. Yeah.
We talked about Swinson, and I think there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that he's the best American painter. And he's absolutely done some fucking incredible stuff. I mean, he won Best in Show at Monty, let's not forget. I think we probably just reached that point where you're like, well, fuck. There's only so many spots.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? It's a stupid thing. It's not. We don't need to get too attached to it because, quite frankly, they're all wonderful.
Yeah, and if Eric hears this, I love him to death. He's a tremendous painter. Easily in my top 10, Eric. Easily in my top 10, except for this top 10. No, it's just like, how do you put someone who probably hasn't yet, with an asterisk, redefined painting in the same way that those other guys have? You know, Eric's doing great stuff, incredible stuff, but I don't see anything of Eric's and go, you know what? I've never seen anyone do anything like that before. That's completely...
well, he's been at the forefront of drop shadows.
Sergio did a drop shadow at Crystal Brush 3 years prior. On his walk from World of Warcraft.
Of course, too, yeah, 100%. But you can only judge on what you can see, right?
What did I say just before, Bucks? You can't be what you can't see.
Yeah. All right. So what's the move? Who's coming out? Who are we extracting? I have a feeling that as much as we're fond of Zaba, he might be the one getting extracted here.
I don't appreciate you.
This is just a prediction on the chat, mate. Who are you taking out? Be realistic right now. You look at that Ted. Who are you extracting? Who's getting the cut?
From that list?
The two that I'm looking at that I think are getting extracted is potentially Andy and Zaba.
I would cut Red Av from the top 10. Truly, I would. And it's the same reason I criticise Dave's work on occasion. He just misses the soul sometimes by the smoothness taking over. That's how I feel about him. And there is no one who can paint smooth better than fucking Red Av. He's outrageous. But sometimes the smoothness is
Smooth is just one thing. It's
too much of a focus when, I'd much rather see some dirty brushstrokes that just fucking are crazy.
Well, if it's popularity standards, Tui, like an influence, maybe that's what matters. As crazy as it sounds.
And well they should, Tui, and well they should. Those guys deserve their spot in the top 10. So we're agreeing, take Kirill out, Duncan Rhodes at number 1.
Yeah, needle movers only, please.
Agreed.
Yeah, this is skill, Tui. This is true. Come on, the chat. Come on, we've stepped up here and we've exposed ourselves. I need something from everyone who's watching along.
Actually, you've exposed yourself. I've had nothing to do with this. You've.
Oh yeah. Listen, the transcripts are going to show you talking a whole lot more than me.
You've hung yourself out to dry here, mate. Oh, we've had
a year or so, and Moses will be in the top 15 or 20. You think?
We've had some controversial conversations about Moses. Let me give you my very hot take on Moses. He is an incredible technical painter. However, I'm yet to see him do something that wasn't good, that wasn't just a straight replica of someone else's artwork.
Paul says Wardle out and Colwell in.
Paul, go back to Townsville and smoke some more crack. Or wherever the fuck you're from. Mount Isa. Whatever it is, mate. Crack you're on.
I think you can make an argument to take Zaba out and put Vilches in. But then you've got 6 Spanish painters.
It's a fucking love letter to Spain.
Yeah.
It's just... At least I know what I like.
I think we can take Zaba out and we could probably put Swinson in. If we think about output, results, consistency...
I'm supportive of that.
Okay, it's done.
In terms of who's more of a genre and trendsetter and redefining miniature painting, it's clearly Zaba. But in terms of whose work resonates more, who's delivered more incredible pieces recently, Swinson's got to be in the top 10 for sure.
Yeah. And I'm about being active, man. I want these painters who are out in the streets getting it done.
Dropping bombs. Dropping bombs, baby.
Like, when everyone else is sleeping, they're painting.
Boom, boom.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right. We're going to go... this is a vibe, so we're going to go on. We're going to do top 10 most influential.
All right. Is it a vibe? Is it happening? All right, let's do it.
Let's go. We'll do it with everyone. Top 10 most influentials.
All right. Here is an immediate top 5.
1 at Kirill?
Kirill.
1 is Kirill. Is he influential?
Of course, mate. He's the most influential painter in the world. Kirill Kanay.
All right, done.
Raymond Lepart, Alfonso Giraldez, Francesco Farabi. I'm going to throw a wild one out here right now. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Sebastian
Archer.
Mike McVeigh.
Mike McVeigh. That's not bad. That's not a bad shout.
Mike McVeigh.
3 Banshee. 4 Francesca. What about 2-8 in at 5? Pretty influential.
Tui.
Yeah. Strong contributions. Judges just about everything. Has a very unique eye. Brings a very, very unique style.
Tui,
Very
who
considered artist.
started Dogma? Was that you?
It's Tui.
Tui's in the top. Tui's in the top
He's
10.
in the top 5. He's
No,
in the top 5 right now.
let's
Right
not
now,
get
he's
let's
top
not get
5.
let's not get excitable, mate. Top 10 definitely. We'll worry about the rest. But Dogma's a huge event that inspires
Tui.
people everywhere.
I'm playing my executive card.
Wow. All right. I didn't know you had executive powers, but apparently you do.
You do too. You can use your executive to bump mine out.
I use my executive powers to remove your executive powers.
You can bump mine out, but that means you can't put someone in because you've spent your token on removing.
All right. I'm going to throw one in there that was tossed up before in jest, but Squidmar
Sure.
has to be considered influential.
Mm-hmm. No, I think we're not using that. That's influential in regards to exposure, right? But
Yep.
we're talking about a contribution. Well, I guess a contribution to teaching.
It's an interesting one.
Well, what's that criteria? Right? I want to see people who have not only taught but have people they can put up who are at master level of painting. That's the measure of a master, is teaching masters, right?
Yeah.
Creating painters that are better than you.
Well, I think Ruben makes the top 10 for influence.
I'm taking Squidmar. We can talk about later. Emil's a lovely guy, by the way. We had the opportunity to meet.
We did
earlier in the year, and him and Lucas are fantastic. Really nice.
Great
guys.
people. Nice people. I think our model's shipped, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had a shipping
That's
notification the other day, and I was like, what the fuck? I don't remember ordering anything from fucking Europe. And I was thinking, the only Kickstarter I can think of is that one, so... And it's about on schedule for when he said he was going to ship the last stuff. I think... so if we look at Patreons and people teaching people, Sergio, Craftworld.
I'm going to throw a big one in there.
All right.
I'm actually going to throw the number one for content creators, specifically YouTube.
All right.
Vince Venturella.
Vincey V. Yeah.
Tirelessly works at teaching and developing every opportunity he can.
Yeah. I got nothing but love for Vince. Nothing but love for him.
Yeah.
I know him personally. Spoken to him on many occasions. And I'm sure I would not be the only person to say that there's very, very few people who would say a bad word about Vince. He's just a kind, generous
tireless
man.
in his endeavour to make this space a better space, right?
Yeah.
No, this is a good point to it. Visionary and then influential. I mean, if we were doing influential like in regards to content creation and reach, then we're just going to list the top largest YouTube accounts.
Let me throw a left field one for you. Ready? Big Deno.
Big Deno in the top 10 for influential.
What an inspiration he is to many people in Australia.
Well, we do need to put an Australian on the list. So I'll ask you, is it you or is it Sebastian Archer?
It's Sebastian Archer every day of the week. G'day, Jan.
Hey, Jan, how are ya?
Seb's done more for the Australian community than I ever will.
I think if you were to ask Seb, he would say you, but that's
because he's a humble and generous man.
very much so.
Let me provide a counterpoint to that. Seb would not get out of his own road without help.
And was quiet for a long time. When all was quiet on the Australian front, there was one man with a loud voice up in Brisbane sounding the klaxon, the clarion, is it the clarion horn or the klaxon horn?
The horn of Helm Hammerhand shall sound in the deep one last time.
Look, I'm not going to have you in 10.
Thank you.
But you're going into 11.
Thank you. Sebastian's got to be in the 10. please.
No, I'm actually comfortable with you going in. I love Sebastian
Mate,
very much. But Sebastian, again, we talked about what we talked about earlier, right? With time, things fade.
Seb influenced an entire generation, mate. He's got to be in the list.
Yeah. Well, what about we just put you both there?
No, yeah.
All right, we'll cut you. It's fine.
Thank you. I was being just for comedic effect, putting myself in there. I've done some positive things for the community, but Sebastian Archer's on a completely another level, mate. He's fucking painting royalty, not just in Australia but in the world.
Yeah, around the world. He's beloved by all. I don't think you should. Deno definitely doesn't miss a chance to sound the horns of Deno from the deep, but
the horn of Deno Hammerhand shall sound in the deep one last time.
I don't think you should, underestimate your own contributions. Seb is old school too, but Seb is back now. He's very active in our Australian scene. He has taken a much more mentor-based role. He is still sculpting and creating, painting. I don't think painting is his thing at this point in time. Although he did paint a couple of models last year, but I think he's very passionate about the growth of the Australian scene. So
I do think Meg Maples makes the list.
In top 10?
Yep. I mean, I think she really popularised travelling and teaching quite a significant amount for a lot of places.
What about Darren Latham?
I think we hit that with Mike McVeigh.
Yeah. Does Darren get rubbed out due to having a bigger platform provided by obviously?
We should probably include John Blanche and Mike McVeigh as the two sides of the coin of that era.
I think John Blanche goes into an artist, like a 2D artist list. I know he's done some wonderful things with painting miniatures and stuff like that, but then you've got Paul Bonner's got to go in, and the
Adrian Smith,
Frank Frazetta, so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
Adrian Smith, it just goes and goes and goes. We've got 2 spots, and we've got Meg's floating right now.
All right, give me the list.
We've got Kirill at 1, Roman at 2, Banshee at 3, Francesco at 4, Tui at 5, McVeigh at 6, Ruben at 7, Vince at 8. Surely we put Alan. I mean, if Sebastian's around this, Alan Carrasco's got to be.
Oh, Carrasco would be good. Romain van den Bogart. Let me throw one at you, and I don't know if this is actually correct or not, but the manufacturers Andrea are one of the very first miniature companies that really made a go of it and just released an absolute fuck ton of models. And I think those guys probably deserve a look in for opening that scene a little bit more to people.
I mean, who's really responsible for the it's Paul Bonner as the artist, but and obviously France is the country. So
Rackham.
French painters.
Talking about Rackham.
Rackham was a movement.
Yeah, it was a movement, wasn't it? What was that fucking painter? I think his name was Sebastian something. He did a lot of Rackham stuff. They had some great fucking products around then, didn't they? What a time to be alive that was. No, not Archer. He didn't do anything in Rackham, although he did certainly follow in the footsteps. No, there was another guy.
The Rackham style of painting really kind of shook everything.
It turned everything on its head, didn't it? Rackham.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden we're not looking at...
I don't know how they quite got it over as well. It's like, hey, what we want to talk to you about is painting thousands of layers.
Yeah.
Right? Thousands.
Yeah.
And having a good time doing it.
Yeah. Our list is way too broad to you. This is just us shooting shit in the wind, mate. It's fine. We there's never going to be a consensus on a subjective topic of this nature. So this is just people that we think are most influential in what we deem as important for us.
Why do you want a newsletter with the list? Listen, if you love sport or whatever, I mean, these conversations happen in sport all the time, and the exact same results happen, right? we're not right. We're far from it. We're not wrong either, right? And we're far from it. There is no wrong and right because your list is your own.
But I'm right.
If you ask me who the greatest basketball player is of all time, I'm going to tell you Michael Jordan. If you ask someone 10 years younger than me, they're potentially going to say LeBron James. Right?
And they would be wrong.
But
they would absolutely be wrong.
you're exactly right, too. Now is the best time to be alive for miniature painting, and in 10 years from now, it'll be then, right? Being on the being on the precipice of what's new is always the best place, I think. MJ is the GOAT. That is correct.
Anyone who thinks otherwise is just wrong, I'm afraid. But
look, there's a great argument for LeBron James and what he's done and what he's accomplished, but until someone wins 6 championships from 6 attempts with 6 Finals MVPs, and we don't even need to talk about the other accolades.
So to just sort of reiterate Tui's point here, and I'll go into another sport metaphor for those who aren't sports people. Sorry about this. But I had this conversation with a friend of mine a number of years ago, and he said, in your opinion, who are the top 5 sports people of all time? Like any field, any category of sport, however you want, but they just need to be the most dominant sports people of all time.
Well, you can't use that word.
Why?
Can't use dominant.
Why?
That's a funny one for sport because, for example, in basketball, dominant is Shaq was the most dominant player of all time, but he wasn't the best player.
All right, but if you, it's not necessarily specifically dominant, but just people.
I'm just being facetious, but it's the nature of it, right? Is no matter what word we choose to use, we can pick it apart.
So if you want to talk about absolute domination of an entire fucking sport, right? Donald Bradman has to make every top 5 list of all time. He's a cricketer.
Yeah, they changed the rules.
He's a cricketer who has an average of 99.99. The next best, who is a current modern day player, is Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith and I think Virat Kohli, and they're in the 60s. They are not even close. Not even close. Donald Bradman obliterated cricket.
Would have had a perfect average too if he didn't go out for a duck.
He got out for a duck in his last innings. Yes, he would have been over 100. Another example of an athlete that absolutely dominated, Roger Federer. However, Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic also come into that conversation. But I think Federer is...
I've got no tennis players outside of Serena Williams, personally.
Sure. One that my mate talked up was Michael Schumacher, Formula One. He was incredible. And then one that I tossed up, which I felt at the time, Tiger's obviously was in the list, was Usain Bolt. I don't think anyone has ever done anything to the fucking 100-meter record like what Usain Bolt did. The guy's an absolute fruit.
I think you could split this list to 2 categories: individual sports and then team sports, right? In which you can have like Michael Phelps, Serena Williams, Roger Federer, and Donald Bradman, and who was the last one there that we're talking? Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt. Yeah.
But that's a really sound, solid list from individual sports. And then for team sports, you're probably going to put Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, what's his name? Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And I like one of the soccer players, right? Like
so,
Ronaldo or whatever.
To come back to my point, right?
Messi.
It's probably Pele actually, but yeah, Ronnie O'Sullivan's a great example. He's a fucking freakazoid. My point was that in my top 5 list of athletes of all time was Wally Lewis. Now he's a rugby league footballer, mate. No one knows anything about rugby league outside of Queensland and New South Wales, and so that's a ridiculous one to include, but my perspective is skewed by the things that I'm excited about. And so this list that we're talking about here of most influential miniature painters is skewed by what we deemed as influential for us. So,
funny one about snooker. Do you know the name Neil Robertson, the Australian snooker player?
No, never heard of him.
He's an elite level snooker player too. You might know him if you know snooker. I used to look after his brother a bit, actually.
Oh, there you go. I love Ronnie O'Sullivan. He's a fucking wild guy. You should do some research on him if you don't know anything about him. He's a fucking lunatic.
Look, regardless, I think we've made the point that, like,
Yeah, I had Muhammad Ali in my top 5 as well, and Usain Bolt, and Tiger Woods, and Roger Federer.
no Michael Jordan.
I wasn't really considering Jordan at the time, no. But when we talked about his list was Schumacher, Jordan, Federer, Woods, and this was 10 years ago, right? Federer was undisputed the greatest tennis player of all time, and he's probably not anymore. But yeah. Anyway, and
welcome to the biggest tangent we may have ever been on. We've got 2 slots to fill at 9 and 10.
So let's go and wrap up the stream now with our last 2. And Mozzo, you can just evict yourself from this fucking stream with behaviour like that, mate. Wally Lewis was not a cheat. You are an absolute spud, and I've had enough of you. Wally Lewis was the greatest rugby league player of all time. You are a fucking disgrace. It's not cheating if you don't get caught. Which I did. Malcolm.
I feel like you could bump Sebastian to 10 if you wanted to. He's at 11.
Yeah, Seb's in 10. We need one more for our top list.
Let me go have a little fish around. See if I can...
Hey, that's a good shout, actually. Yeah, let's talk US. Jen Haley's probably a pretty big one, actually. She did a lot of stuff.
Have we got an influential historical painter here? What about Mike Blank? Is
Mike Blank, yeah, for sure.
Victoria Lamb in the Oz scene. Yeah,
it's a possibility. It's a strong possibility.
Of the Australians, like there's sort of like 4 Australians really. You've got Victoria, Trent, Sebastian, and who was my
Lee Carpenter or Glenn Lamprecht. You probably, if you go back far enough, you probably include Victoria Lamb, Glenn Lamprecht, Lee Carpenter, Sebastian Archer.
Yeah.
Glenn Lamprecht won.
And Meg, you can put in as well. She's
a Yank.
She's a citizen.
She's a Yank.
So. She's a citizen now. She's Australian citizen.
Glenn Lamprecht won 4 Slayer swords before anyone else in the world had ever won 4 Slayer swords. He is the first person to ever do that.
Well, actually, 3 in a shield.
3 in a shield, but still counts. Still counts. And he was my mentor for a number of years, and he's a wonderful man. Yeah, Victoria Lamb did the very first OSL in an entry that I can recall that really set the world aflame. A little pun for you there.
We've definitely celebrated Victoria's works plenty of times, haven't we? For her contributions to the OSL.
All right, so run down our top 10 list of most influential people in the hobby for us, please.
Cyril, Roman, Banshee, Francesco, Tui, McVeigh, Ruben, Vince, Space, Sebastian.
Well said, Xtab. That is it. Put that into the fucking list. Jeremy Bonament Teboul, JBT from France. Well said, Xtab. That is a great shout out, mate. The fucking book Figurepedia has influenced everyone more than anyone else on that list. Well done, Xtab. Saint Minis, Sergio would absolutely make my top 10 list in terms of just about everything. He's one of my biggest inspirations, but we wouldn't include him in most influential, I wouldn't think, no. He'd be close, though. He'd be close in the influential space because I think his Patreon is the most influential and successful Patreon.
All right, so we've subjected all of our painting peers to
a wonderful
being listed,
egotistical
listed and
conversation.
Yeah, But in all fairness, anyone who we've spoken about tonight is an absolute, for the most part, star.
Oh, but how do we not get comments in there? Fucking painting Buddha.
Yeah.
How's comments not made the list? Fuck. Drop Seb out and put comments in. Fuck Seb.
All right. That's all right. Done.
Fucking hell.
See what I mean? It takes many minds to make people think about stuff. Like, we can't remember every name ever.
What Andy's trying to do is backtrack on having an opinion. And I would also like to backtrack on having an opinion right now. No, what I'd like to say is that it's a completely subjective list that's just made up of people who are remembered right now. And
it's a fucking meme, is what it is.
Everyone that we've talked about could be number one on our list at any given day. Like, every person.
There's a person on here who doesn't inspire me to want to be a better painter, a better creative, and a better person.
Maybe not so much the last one, but definitely a better painter. The only person who inspires you to be a better person is me, Andrew, and you know that.
Calm down, mate. We know that the role is actually reversed on that one. We can't make it public.
Please. So to all of those wonderful people, if you ever go back and watch this and you're like, fuck you, Deno, I can't believe. Yeah, we put Lan on the list already, mate. That was a different list. Bohun, yeah, maybe. Remember that?
If we did a styles list, Bohun would be on the styles list.
I remember a couple of years ago that fucking dude in Melbourne tried to fucking palm off one of Bohun's works as his own in a Golden Demon.
It was very close to that situation, actually.
What a peanut.
I know the exact guy you're talking about.
What an absolute peanut.
Yeah. Yes, it was a Dreadnought Mozzo. He wasn't the smartest cookie. He was also caught for cheating at major tournaments.
Yeah, he tried to claim, Cooge, that he did own Bohun's one, but he just used it as inspiration and he'd painted his own version of it. And everyone was like, well, put them side by side, champion. And he's just like, yep, I'll get you that photo right now. No, bring him down. I'll get right on that, champion. Fucking walks away with his... Was it a silver or something? I can't remember.
No, it was a good old.
Gee, old.
Oh, it might have been a bronze, but it was either a gold or a bronze. It wasn't a silver. I think it was a gold, though.
Long time ago now. Fuck, what was that? 2004, maybe?
It was the... No. It was the last Golden Demon we had, which was probably 2011 when we brought Games Day back, or when Games Day was brought back in Australia for 2 years.
Long time ago.
It was the same year that Mark Solly won Slayer Sword.
Lovely chatting to you on Andrew. Do I think you learned anything from it? I don't know the guy personally. My immediate thought would be no.
Oh, like, did he learn from his mistake?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I think to a degree, yeah, because this didn't actually just happen. Like, he wasn't just caught in this instance. He was also caught cheating at major tournaments with loaded dice all at the same time. So he was actually cheating across the board in everything he was doing. He was claiming that he was painting his own armies in which they were all commissioned. So yeah, a whole bunch of stuff went down with that person, and that person was pretty much community voted sort of out.
Pariah. Absolute pariah.
Yeah, I mean, and if do you learn to pick a lesser known artist to steal from? Well, it was right when Bohun was obviously very typically top. But
good call out though, Tui. We all make mistakes, and I don't know the dude well enough, but I hope that he did learn from said mistake and is no longer an absolute spud.
Yeah, I think a lesson was learned, but I don't know that the lesson's not learned without him not getting caught, if that makes sense. So,
well, as I said, mate, at the start of my conversation, you know, me getting caught in my error was one of the best things that happened to me. So, hopefully, that dude looks back on that same situation in the same way. We won't know because I don't actually remember too much about the guy, but I think he was in Victoria, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly shook the Victorian painting scene right up.
Yep. Good to chat tonight, mate. Good conversation. What are we going to talk about next week? Board game miniatures, is it?
We can do board game miniatures next week. I'll let you lead on this one, as you are much more in the know than I am when it comes to board game miniatures.
Much more adept at painting them.
Much more than painting them, yeah.
Much
That's
more
to be debated.
Much more adept at using them.
Using them, it's well, that's unshakable.
That's not a debate.
I've not heard a truthier truth spoken in my entire life, my friend. This is my gaming skill comes to it about this and culminates it. That's sort of where it goes.
Yeah, Tui. Yeah, I'd love to have a chat to that person and see who they are now. That'd be interesting. But as I said at the top, friends, let's be good to each other. Just don't be a fucking dickhead, and let's go find someone to raid.
Lastly, just to let you know, you're 5k away now, my friend.
5k away from giving you a fucking miniature. Yeah. That is a fucking load of shit, man.
Yeah.
Have you got that in writing?
I can screenshot it for you if you want.
So you don't have it in writing, is what you're saying?
I would have thought you would have lavished at the opportunity to paint me a miniature.
I will have to put a $200,000 thing in there, so...
a 200,000k.
200k.
Deno points.
Deno points. Deno paints your model. Could be a good one.
We're going to raid the Foolish Monk.
Foolish Monk, Abe, he's a wonderful man. Let's go, friends. Have a great week. See you all again soon.